Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mike Elko, this Texas A&M program make a statement Saturday afternoon against Missouri, and we hopped on immediately after that game, and I said, I think that's the most complete game that I've seen Texas A&M play, and really the last couple of years. Now, getting the rewatch in Sunday morning, I'm gonna double down on that statement. Quite frankly, watching the game back again, I was even more impressed in terms of what I saw from Texas A&M. And then you look at the rest of the results within the SEC and say, why can't Texas A&M compete at the top of the SEC? And we said this heading into 2024, like the talent on this roster for Texas A&M, it's there. Now it's got to come together. Our biggest question mark was the offensive line. That might be one of the best units on the football field for Texas A&M right now. Complete game on both sides of the football. Want to get into what we saw from Texas A&M, what they can build on heading into the bye week. This is one of the hottest teams that we see in all of college football. I think a lot of Texas A&M fans are really excited about what they saw. Fired up to get into this one. Before we do, and as always, massive shout out to the Texas A&M fans. We hopped on right after that Mizzou game. The amount of support the Aggie fans showed, it means the absolute world to the boys. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. It's been a blast talking this program going back to when Mike Elko was hired in College Station. Appreciate you guys. And without further ado, let's get into this one. Let's get into a kind of a little bit more into the weeds in terms of some of our takeaways from that football game. And I want to start with the run game and the offensive line. We kind of knew heading in to the Mike Elko era, like, how does Texas A&M want to win football games? They want to control the time possession. They want to run the football and play elite defense. That's what we saw from Texas A&M Saturday afternoon. And yeah, Le'Veon Moss was phenomenal. Like, you take a look at his numbers, averaging 11 and a half yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, buck 38 on the ground. Le'Veon Moss was really good. We kind of knew he was a really good running back. I think the biggest storyline is the offensive line. And I want to give a quick shout out to Ruben Fothery. That Look, we all knew Ruben Fothery had NFL potential all over him. We've seen NFL caliber play from Ruben Fothery with the injuries, the lack of consistency. That was probably the best football game that I've seen Ruben Fothery play in a long time. And if you're a Texas A&M fan, like that has to excite you. You suddenly look at this offensive line and say, we had question marks about what this starting five would look like as they went into fall camp. Now you're looking at this offensive line and say Cam Dewberry came in, Ruben Fothery came in. They got 7, 8 guys on the offensive line that I think Mike Elko has a lot of confidence in. And I think more importantly, you saw them really start to find their identity and rhythm in the rushing attack. And I give Coach Colin Klein a ton of credit. One of the things that we were most excited about Coach Colin Klein coming to College Station was how multiple and how diverse they're going to be able to run the football. You saw some outside zone. Texas A&M had some success with that. But I think more importantly, Coach Colin Klein is starting to understand where this Texas A&M offensive line is at its best. That's gap scheme. That's some power stuff. That is letting these big bodies on the offensive line be physically imposing. You saw them, for lack of better terms, just blow Missouri off the line of scrimmage consistently in that football game. They got up to linebackers extremely well. You look at Le'Veon Moss, a lot of his carries that went for those 10 plus yards, he was clean going to the second level. And so I think one of the things to be most optimistic about is that I think Coach Colin Klein and this Texas A&M offense, they've found their identity in terms of how they want to run the football. And it starts with this is a big offensive line. It's a big physical offensive line. Let them go be in their best positions. And that's really working vertically downhill, moving bodies off the line of scrimmage. So I thought the run game was absolutely massive. Huge shout out to Adam Cushing. It's so clearly a better coached offensive line than it was last year. A lot of these guys were on the team last year. A lot of these guys played for Texas A&M last year. But, I mean, Adam Cushing taking this offensive line really to that next level. Now, I think why that's such a big story is that's how you want to get the passing game going. You go back to Coach Colin Klein at Kansas State. It was a run-oriented offense that kind of it married the rushing attack with the passing attack really well. You saw Texas A&M do that Saturday afternoon against Missouri. You look at Conor Weigman, one, We'll talk about Conor Weigman. I already made my apology. I'll say it again. I was on the Marcel Reed train for a little bit. Uh, I thought he was winning football games. I thought he was allowing Texas A&M to run the football very well. And I'll just put my hand up and say maybe a little bit of an overreaction to a week one sloppy performance when you had a new offensive coordinator. You played a really good defense in week one. There were some other factors that probably were in play other than just Conor Weigman having a bad game. And of course, he didn't play well against Notre Dame, but hand up to me a little bit of an overreaction in terms of Conor Weigman's performance because he comes out against Missouri and that's the best football game I think we've seen Conor Weigman play. And it might not show on the box score, right? 18 to 22, 276, no touchdowns. The way he operated the offense, the way he kept the football out of harm's way, but also made some big time throws, that's exactly what you're looking for from this kid. And again, he had that one throw that kind of made you scratch your head. He can build off that. Again, Conor Weigman's really, really talented. He's in his third year of college football, but hasn't really played that much football. He's, still a green quarterback in terms of experience with some of the injuries that he's kind of gone through. But you saw the arm talent on full display. But I think what I want to focus in more is the overall command that he had of the offense. I mean, he was manipulating the pocket. The ball was coming out quick, on time. Texas A&M didn't really take any negative plays. And again, as that rushing attack really got going, Coach Colin Klein starts to go play action. Conor Weigman 6 to 7 for over 70 yards on play action. I would like to see Texas A&M probably go to a little bit more play action as they come out of the bye week. But again, that's contingent on running the football really well. So if you can continue with how Texas A&M is running the football, and then you can marry that with your passing attack, that's the recipe for Texas A&M having a lot of success on offense. Pass protection was absolutely phenomenal. Texas A&M gave up 4 quarterback pressures all game, and one of those quarterback pressures came from a blown assignment from a running back in pass protection. The offensive line was really good again. I thought Ruben Fothery was phenomenal playing at that tackle spot. And I think lastly, really happy to see the playmakers on the outside make plays. Part of my banging the table, if you will, for Marcel Reed was I kind of doubted the playmakers on the outside. I didn't think they were making plays down the field. I didn't think they were creating a ton of separation. So I was saying if you don't have the wide receivers, you might as well really lean into the rushing attack. This was by far the best game from a wide receiver standpoint as well. And I love what Coach Colin Klein is doing with Terry Bussey. We said this when Terry Bussey committed to Texas A&M. Yeah, he could be a really good defensive back, but you go back to the film of this kid at the high school level, it's really hard to not want him to play offense because he's just special with the football in his hands. And you're seeing Coach Colin Klein really get Terry Bussey involved in a multitude of different ways, whether it's a ball carrier out of the backfield, whether it's a pass catcher out of the backfield, whether he's split out wide as a wide receiver. As he continues to advance in this Texas A&M program, we're going to see more and more of Terry Bussey. Absolute electric factory. And I think another thing is Coach Colin Klein was creating a lot of space for his pass catchers. He had over 150 yards after the catch in that football game. That's on Coach Colin Klein. Like getting his guys in space, giving them the opportunity to operate after the catch. The offense was a well-oiled machine. They didn't punt very often. When they did have to punt, they were doing a really good job on special teams. But this was like when you have everything kind of firing on all cylinders, that's the result. Like 21st down, 7 to 12 on third down, 512 total yards. You were efficient, but you were also explosive. It was a nearly perfect performance from Texas A&M on the offensive side of the football, and then you married that with a smothering defense. This is the key stat I'm going to look for Texas A&M every single game. That's negative plays. 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss against the Missouri offensive line that I think is pretty dang good. Like, why was I so high on Missouri heading into 2024? I think they have an experienced and, quite frankly, an NFL caliber offensive line. A lot of those guys that are on the offensive line for Missouri will be playing in the NFL. Texas A&M won the day against, again, one of the better offensive lines that they'll see in the season. I'm losing my tabs here. Now we're going to the defense here. This is why we were so high in Texas A&M heading into 2024, an elite smothering defense. We've seen that the last couple of weeks, right? You saw it against Arkansas. Now you saw it against Missouri. It starts with Nick Gordon. I think he's probably the best edge defender that you see in the country right now. And it's not only what he can do as a pass rusher, it's what he does in the run game as well. This defensive line, they penetrate, they create negative plays in the run game, and then when you get them in second and third and long, this is a hard defense to be behind the chains on because they can get after you in a lot of different ways, both on the edge but also on the inside. I thought Scooby Williams was phenomenal. Another player that I just kind of missed on in the offseason, and give Jay Bateman a ton of credit, took him from Florida. From what I saw from Scooby Williams at Florida, I felt like a really good athlete that was playing out of position. I thought he probably should have been an edge rusher, looked a little choppy as an off ball linebacker. Jay Bateman must have seen something in practice, or maybe I just don't know how to watch football because he's come to Texas A&M. He's been phenomenal. I'm really impressed with the front seven, and then in the secondary, like outside of that one, I'll say busted coverage, but I think it was a little bit more just Brady Cook did a good job extending the play. You had that little scramble drill, gave up the big play. Outside of that play, if Missouri was completing something down the field, they had to be really good because there were not a lot of throwing windows for Missouri to go to. That's a really good quarterback in Brady Cook. That's an elite wide receiver in Luther Burden. Theo Weasley, those are some pass catchers that I think are good. And Texas A&M dominated. And we're kind of seeing what we talked about in the offseason where the ceiling of the secondary is so dang high. We weren't necessarily sure what the secondary was going to look like when it all came together in the transfer portal, but we all kind of had that quiet confidence that there's enough talent in that room that Mike Elko is going to get it right. We've seen that. Like Dalton Brooks, Marcus Ratcliffe at the safety spots, been really impressed with them. Will Lee is kind of reaching that ceiling that we expected Will Lee to reach. Des Ricks is starting to put it together. There wasn't a position group on the football field that I thought struggled in that game. And that's how you get a 41-10 game. You go top to bottom, quarterback play, running back play, offensive line, pass catchers, front seven, secondary. Every single one of those units won on Saturday. That's how you get a 10-41 game. And you go into the bye week, you get your guys healthy, you continue to get Conor Weigman more comfortable in this Texas A&M offense. You get Mississippi State coming out of the bye. That should be another confidence builder game. If you're Texas A&M, this is a team that can compete for an SEC championship. There's no doubt in my mind. I always say they have the talent. Now they just got to put it together. We saw it get put together against Missouri. I'm fired up to see what this unit looks like coming out of the bye. Conor Weigman's playing confident. This offensive line has put it together. Shout out Adam Cushing. A lot to be excited about with this Texas A&M team. Again, got to rewatch in, and I was even more impressed than I was on Saturday afternoon. I was pretty damn impressed Saturday afternoon, as many of you guys know. We'll cut it there. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.